Okay, I'm ready, okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Note that this meeting on Tuesday, April 30th, will be in person and is being recorded. Let's start with the national anthem. Thank you. Okay.
So do we sing now?
Mr. Finance Director.
National anthem?
Did you say we start with the
national-
national? No, I was waiting to sing.
Okay.
Not really.
Pledge allegiance, I'm sorry.
No one wants to hear me sing.
So, Mr. Chairman, tonight we have the remaining of the warrant articles to go over, with the exception of one that we're still waiting information on. The version I'm going to put up on the screen is the most recent version that we have. I'm not sure if we're going to see any changes to this, but I don't think we are. Let's see. So the first article will be Article 20.
Okay.
We're holding Article, for more information, we're holding Article 11. That will be the article that we're holding. And that's the contractual obligation because the police department is still, we haven't got final word from them to
So we're
put the
not
number
doing,
in.
so we're not doing
We're not doing Article 11.
Article 11, okay.
We're going to start with Article 20,
Okay,
which is
so
where we
Article,
left off.
all right, let me just get there. Okay, so this is the personal bylaw amendment, new positions and salary adjustments.
Right, so the last version that you had, we had, it did not include the Assistant Recreation Director. This one does. So these are the three positions that they're looking for the Schedule E for this year. This is normally, it's put into every single warrant
Yeah.
that we do, where they just update the positions.
So, the beach rake operator,
That's a new position,
and that's, it's $50, there's no range?
$50 an hour, there's no
No
range.
range, okay. And, go ahead, John.
Is that an employee contract, or what is that? That's,
Just an hourly employee, there's no contract, non-union, I believe,
Does it-
also.
it seems high, and I don't remember, I know we looked at
They did have one in the past.
plow truck drivers, and I don't know if we were paying them $50 an hour.
They went from, I believe they went from 50 to 100, because they were having a hard time finding somebody.
What's the
Right.
job description on that?
That's seasonal, obviously, it's seasonal.
What do they do?
They maintain the beach area, so,
Just raking?
raking it, making
cleaning?
it, yes, cleaning the beach area.
Anything else besides that?
I am not sure about what else they would be
No, I
doing.
think I'm trying to get at what John's getting at, the $50 an hour, if it's warranted, so to speak, justified.
Yeah, other than,
How
I'm
many
not,
hours are they thinking that it's going to take to do that? They must have an idea, right?
well, that's gonna be continually, so they have to continually maintain the area. I would say that maybe 3-4 hours every time that they're out there, not sure, like, how
So
long.
this is new?
This is a new position, yeah.
Who did it before?
I believe, I'm not sure who did it before, but I believe it was, in the past, there was a beach rake operator at the
And
time.
they run equipment, right? I mean,
Yeah, I don't believe they're doing it by hand.
So I'd be curious to know, I'm sure it's gonna come up at town meeting, does this require a hydraulics license? What's, if you're just operating a piece of machinery on the beach, it seems to be an awful lot of money. I'm dating myself, but when I was a kid at 16 years old, I had a job with the park department, and I can remember raking the beach by hand with a wheelbarrow for, I think minimum wage was $1.75, I think.
Yeah, but didn't you walk 4 miles to school?
Would you
every day?
be willing to do that again, John?
For $50, yeah.
No, for $1.75 with
And
a
sit,
rake.
and get a suntan and drive,
I used to
I think they have a problem
No,
getting,
I'm just, it just seems,
I think there needs to be a job description added, just brief,
Right.
like a couple, and then an estimate of the number of hours per week people want to know. And I'm
Yes.
assuming that's in the budget, right? It's in
Yes,
scheduling, yeah.
yes. So, job
So I'm
description,
sure they had an idea,
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
should,
Tim
give
had
people
an
an idea
idea.
what the $50 an hour is all about.
And the assistant rec director is not the assistant parks and rec, right? They're
Right,
different.
correct.
This is for the summer programs? Yeah.
So we want to know on the beach rake, we want to know job description.
Right.
See how you have library tech
Qualifications.
less than 15 hours? That's the kind of thing I think that will answer questions before they're asked.
Okay, let's see, beach rake job description.
So
number
all of these are
hours.
non-union?
Correct. Yes.
I asked that for the description that I have to write.
So job description, number of hours for the beach.
Right.
And how many, yeah, seasonal, obviously, but,
Right.
But library tech isn't seasonal,
No, that's.
No.
Just less than 15 hours.
right, it's part-time.
Right.
But the other
And-
two are seasonal? Okay.
and number of hours for beach, okay.
It's just a recreation.
Do you want that information first before you vote on it, or, I mean?
I'm okay
I mean,
with
we're getting
that.
down
I'm
to the
okay
what?
with voting
I'm
on
okay
it.
with voting.
Okay, yeah, I'll forward that
I think it's
information to
just,
the group.
those are questions I think town meeting's certainly gonna ask, so.
Yeah,
I think
They
it
should
just
be
helps
prepared
explain
for
the
it.
$50 an hour.
yeah. And Tim Lancaster's usually there, so if there's questions, he can answer one
But if
whether
you
or not.
put them in there, then people won't ask, because
Right.
it'll be right there. like
Yeah,
with the
I'll see if they can
library.
update
Yep.
the article.
Great, thanks.
So I'll make a motion to approve Article 20.
I'll second it.
Okay, Terry made a motion to approve, Bill seconded it. Any discussion?
We had it already.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes.
6-0.
6-0.
Won't be tricking that anytime soon.
Yeah, be sure.
Thank you.
600. Okay, so our next article is 25. This begins the,
Did you already vote 22 and 23?
yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Last week.
Yeah.
Okay.
5-0 and 7-0.
All right, so,
So Article 25. Let me see if we can get it. Is the sale of land on the old police station.
So do we have that most current, not, and we don't have it printed out, we just have it electronically?
This-
I know you
this-
have it on the screen.
Yeah, not electronically, so as soon as we're done with this tonight, I'll send it out electronically, which should only be 11 is the only one that we'll have left, which we're waiting to change. Everything else should be as you see it on the screen.
I don't have 25.
Right, let me just want to see.
So my.
So on the version you have, Jeanine, is it still
since
Article
Charlie
25?
ran,
Hang on, scrolling. Yes, 25 is the sale of the old police
we're gonna
station.
have to look on yours. I don't have 20.
It's still not matching, or whatever. It's one version behind what Gary has on the screen.
Okay, so I'll read it. Article 25, 247 Russell Mills Road, Old Police Station Site, sale and rent. To see if the town will vote pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 3, to authorize the select board to sell all or such portions as the select board determines to be prudent of the real property that has the old police station site, and which is referenced in Assessor's Map 132 as Lot 1, and is commonly known as 247 Russell Mills Road, under such terms and conditions as the select board determines to be in the best interest of the town. So, I thought that I thought the town meeting had voted to demolish that police station.
Yep.
Correct. And allocated money, to my knowledge, yeah.
Yeah, allocated money. So, all right, so questions, anybody got questions on this, or, go ahead.
You want a motion?
Seems a little, oh, sorry.
All right, you want to make
You
a
want a
motion?
motion
You wanna make-
first?
Sure, we can do that, that way we, who wants to make a motion?
I will.
So, Terry made a motion, go ahead, why don't you say it?
Second.
Well, somebody's got a second, it, right?
No, you gotta say, it. Yeah. I make I make a motion to accept Article 25. So that was Terry.
Yeah, I'll second it again.
A second.
All right, I won't let Phil go. Phil, all right, it doesn't make a difference.
Either or.
All right.
Doesn't matter.
Discussion.
Okay. Can I discuss now?
Yes. The floor is yours.
I feel like the article is a little broad. First of all, I'm against selling any town asset that we have, frankly, because I don't know where we'll ever get land again. So I look at this, and okay, it says old police station, but I'm sorry, I don't know how much land that is. I don't know what the actual value of that is. There's a lot of things I don't know about it, other than they want to be able to say they could sell it. I just think it's kind of vague. And aside from that, as I said, I'm opposed to selling any town asset.
Refresh my memory, didn't we go through an exercise last year that we actually had the land plotted out around the police station? Because I thought DYAA was interested in purchasing more of the land and so on and so forth. So I thought we did have that somewhere outlined, and maybe that could be attached as an addendum to that article, just so people would understand the parameters of the land sale.
From my recollection of what's going on in the process of this is that, I think you're correct, but what, I think what they're trying to do is at least get the process going to try to find the value of the property, and then have the Board of Selectmen determine what should be the proper use of that, whether it gets sold, whether
Right.
it gets repurposed. So I think what this article does is it just gets the ball running to allow the Board of Selectmen to do just that. I don't think it really involves, I guess they need to still find what the value of the property is. I mean, first you gotta determine that before you can make a sale.
John?
That doesn't, I'm having a tough time digesting that. It makes no sense to me that this is only to find a value. You don't need to get permission from town meeting to sell a piece of property to determine what the value is of that property. This issue has been going on now for, 4 or 5 years. Town meeting a number of years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it was, decided to tear it down. Town went out, got prices, it wasn't enough money. And then in the meantime, the Historic Commission stepped in and, wanted to try to save the building. And I believe because of that effort, I know we sent a letter, I think the CPC sent a letter that, why don't we look at this? And I thought there was some kind of committee formed to look at it. And I thought there was some discussion, not only to possibly sell the property, but lease the property. And the lease is not in the article. It's only to sell. So I'm not sure what happened if that committee decided the only option is to sell, and the lease option is off the table. I don't know if the committee made that decision or the select board made that decision, but I would like the town to have that option to, what's the best option, lease or sell?
Well, I know they're still waiting for the assessed value. I know the part of that history committee, they're still waiting for the assessed value. I'm not sure why it's taking so long, but that's the last I heard of that.
That's kind of where.
They're still waiting for the assessed value, so, Jerry, go ahead.
So I would add to what John said, that I think at some point along the way, I heard a presentation by the Historical Society saying this should be converted to housing. The question was, well, have there been offers? Is there somebody out there that wants? So I think this is heading in that direction. If there are offers to do that, and somebody wants to come in and do that, then this would be the way to do it. And I think the only permission they have so far is to demolish it. And clearly, there's not a lot of support for that. So I agree, maybe it could be clearer, but that's what it's kind of a way to move on from how stuck we are. And as far as leasing goes, the concern I have about leasing is, it's been working out well with the cultural center, I think, but it's liability for the town to be taking in expense as well to keep something open like that. In that building, I walked through it when we were first looking at the police department. It is a sick building. It would be, I don't know how they would rehab that to make it livable.
Right, but they could lease the land.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a possibility. I guess my question is, and I could be wrong, but I think someone's using that property right now.
The police station?
Not the building, the land is being used in some manner. I don't know if it's storage or something. Someone is using
I think
that.
it's the waterways.
Waterways, yeah.
Yeah, Harbor Master, I think, is storing stuff anyway, I believe. I'm not sure somebody was storing.
Anyway, it goes back to my original comment, is we have zero use for this property. The town of Dartmouth has zero use for this, and forget the building, the land itself, which I don't know how many acres it is, but I'm sure someone does. Which, once again, is not listed in here.
I think we're leaning against this, and I don't know, Phil, you want to chime in here?
I agree with Janine.
Yeah,
I'm in
You don't
favor.
sell land.
yeah,
It's not like they're making any more of it.
yeah.
And I'm sure sometime in the next 20 or 30 years, the town will find some use for it, or need a space for some sort of,
Right, correct. Well, you were using it now.
yeah,
I think the question is, until then? I mean, it's been sitting there for how long? And we're using it for storage, and the reason I'm in favor of this is that I think things can get stuck, and I think this is a situation where the town is really stuck on something that they could move forward on. It doesn't mean they're going to sell it. I mean, maybe somebody will come in and have an idea about how to develop it. But to have it continue to sit there and languish and be covered by insurance and any maintenance, I just don't think it makes sense.
I think they can pursue a lot of different things without having the permission to sell it, and then perhaps come back to town meeting with an actual plan.
Yeah.
You know, what's the plan? We've decided this, versus just arbitrarily pushing it aside and letting the select board choose its destiny with no details.
Yeah, and to that point, there's been a lot of permutations about Recreation Department, Council on Aging. There's been a lot of interest in that property, in that building especially, too. I mean, I could never understand why we couldn't just go in there and do something with the air conditioning, because typically Legionnaire's disease has something to do with the air ducts and air conditioning. Couldn't we just rip all that out and keep the building and do something with the building, so. But that was just a thought back then, so.
So, are we ready to vote?
Just one more comment. I don't know if the town will ever have the appetite to tear down that building, considering what it may cost us. And I don't know if they'd ever have the appetite to refurbish the building that a potential developer might do. And the hindrance for the town is, everything we do is prevailing wages. Everything we do, you know, so we want to go in there and do the cleanup of that building, prevailing wages, and then we do the remodeling, prevailing wages, the council on aging, whatever it is we want to turn into housing. It just adds a ton of money to the project, and where a developer might be able to come in, purchase the site, and save the building. Now, I agree, we shouldn't be selling assets, but I don't think the town will ever have the appetite to do anything there. Even if it's just tear it down and sit on the land until, I agree, we'll be looking for land in 15, 20 years to do something. Some department will need a lot of land somewhere, and, you know, that might have been ideal, but I don't think we got the appetite to spend $1 million to tear it down.
Well, how much money was allocated to tear it down? Because we did vote on that at one time.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't know what it
remember.
is, but-
That
Was it
just a study, wasn't
750?
it?
Town meetings ago?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sure,
That was a study, wasn't it?
No, it was a,
yeah, I think there was allocation, I don't have it, but I can get it,
Right. I was just
to actually
curious.
demolish the building.
I don't know if I'm right, but I thought it might have been like around 750, and the bids didn't, were above that. I don't know where they were, but it could have been 500 and the bids were much higher, or 750, the bids were much higher than what they had, but.
but because that was voted on at town meeting, doesn't that make that allocation still exist?
Oh, yeah, that's still,
Whatever it was. So there's X amount of money that's put aside to
Correct.
start this project. I'm not going to say,
Yep.
obviously, it may not cover it.
That's true.
Just curious. So whatever that allocation is,
It's still there.
Yeah, I'd like to
So-
know what that is, I guess.
Okay.
So it sounds like we're gonna have a split vote here. But what's the downside if we reject it? This article could come, when we have more information, like what the value is, this could go on the warrant in October, right?
Well, if the committee votes in the negative, it still goes to town meeting for a
Yeah,
vote.
I understand,
And
yeah,
they could
yeah,
vote,
yeah.
they could
No,
vote
I'm
either
saying,
way.
yeah.
Yeah, and then, but if it doesn't, and then town meeting votes it down, we would have, the committee could ask for additional information for the fall town meeting, if it gets put back on the fall town meetings, warrant.
Yeah, because personally, I think, two arguments about selling town property in the second is, there's just not enough information, and the whole lease thing is not there, so that's,
I mean, in the rationale, if you vote in the negative, you could also put that the committee feels that there wasn't enough information or data at the time.
Oh, I agree. That was my argument, and of
Yeah.
course, we have to agree on what we write as our
yeah, we
statement.
have to do the rationale, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor say aye,
Aye.
okay? All opposed say
Nay.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so it's
The fire.
150. Okay, so Terry, do you want to write the
Sure.
minority opinion?
Will do.
Okay. All right, so you want to do the rationale right now, or?
No, that'll take us too long, frankly. I think if I do, I'm sorry, I don't mean to,
Yeah, all
that way
right.
we won't drag it out.
Okay, yeah.
I'm happy to do a rough, and then when we come back and
Okay,
look at
okay,
all the
okay.
rationales, we can,
Yeah, basically what
Tear it
everybody said.
apart.
Basically what everybody said,
yeah.
okay. What's up next, Mr. Finance Director?
26. So land acquisition, Pascagoula River Aquifer land. This is quite a long,
Yeah, I'm not going to read this. But it's Article 26, land acquisition, Pascagoula River Aquifer land.
God, these numbers have changed so much.
Terry, where's the funds for this coming from?
Enterprise or-
I don't know if part of this was a grant.
That be coming from the enterprise fund, or what?
It's the Board of Water Commissioners, so that's got to be
Yeah, and I
from
think
retained
part of this was
earnings, right?
Part of this was a grant also, I'm not
Yeah, I was
100%
gonna
sure.
say,
Yeah, I believe so,
815,
yeah.
that's a lot, but, yeah.
So this has gone back and forth, town council is, I believe this is the last blessing that they've given on this version of it. I know Tim Bob has been working closely with them.
So is this coming from Water Enterprise, funding for this?
Enterprise fund? Water?
Water
I
Public
believe a
Works.
portion of it is, and a portion is the grant. I don't know the allocation, though. I can get the allocation, but I believe some of
So
it
is
was.
this, the CPC had an article with,
On this town
I
meeting's
thought-
warrant,
no, last year,
last year,
where we bought behind the Cornell Farm on Tucker Road.
with CPC funds?
With some CPC funds, and I don't know whether, I think with DNRT, and, and part of the rationale for that was some water protection. So this isn't that parcel of property.
Not that I'm aware of.
And
No.
the DPW was in favor of the town acquiring that parcel behind Cornell Pond. So it'd be nice to have a map.
Yeah,
In
particularly,
the,
where is this? 'Cause-
196 acres. I mean, that's a big
sorry?
piece. It's 196 acres. That's a big piece of land.
That's a big piece of land. Where is that? Is that
Yeah.
the north end of the Pascagoula River, the south end?
That's a long
Does it
river.
abut the existing well sites now? Because I know it says protection for water, but one of the questions I would have is the potential for new sources on that 196 acres. Again, I don't know where it is.
Rob
looks like-
Almy presented on this last night, but I can't for the life of me remember. Rob Almy presented on this last night, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
cannot remember what the,
But, I mean, it's pretty obvious that the 350,000 would come from the town, because that's what it says. And the rest would come from a grant.
I'm sorry, so is it 815 plus 350?
No.
So 350 is
Total
part of the
cost.
815?
So,
Yeah, 350 towards the cost.
so $350,000 towards the cost of said acquisition, and authorize the treasurer with the approval of the select board for the purpose of this meeting to appropriate and borrow all said appropriation.
I mean, we could probably pull up the map and see where.
Yeah. I'm all in favor of protecting our aquifer, just it'd be
Yeah.
nice to know where it is,
Exactly.
what piece of property are we
Yes,
protecting.
exactly.
But it does have, I know it does, based on what Bob Allen said yesterday, it does have to do with the drinking supply. water
Yeah,
supply.
yeah.
I can't get into that
Website
yet.
doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah,
It's more than important.
why?
Is there, can you go down a little bit more or anything?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, here on the bottom, John, you see in funds stemming from donations, gifts, grants, community preservation funds,
Ah, so-
of which
Okay, that's a
Community
breakdown.
community preservation funds mandates in accordance with Mass General Law.
So the town funded this with some CP funds last year.
Yeah, so there's different sources of revenue
Yep.
to complete this. So I'm thinking Tim Barber's gonna do a presentation, or someone's gonna do a presentation.
I would hope,
Oh,
because we
yeah.
don't know where,
Yeah.
well, no one will know where they're
You
Right,
sitting.
yeah.
have to, yeah. You have to,
I'll reach out to Tim just to.
yeah, because this is
So was there a previous article, John? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Last year?
Yep.
I'll have to look it up.
Yep.
Fall or spring?
I don't remember which one it was, but there was a previous article, they were teaming up, CPC with DNRT, and I thought.
For
they
an
did-
adjacent parcel? Or was there a parcel that was adjacent to this, or the same?
It was in the Pascamanza Valley behind Cornell Farm.
Okay, I'll look, because I'd like to see what.
So I
we
wonder
have
if that's the property.
Numbers are nuts.
Anybody else have anything, or are we ready to vote?
Yeah, I would just suggest that they provide a map.
Well, some kind of, sort of presentation of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be in the packet too, that goes out to town meeting members, I'm sure that
I would
there'll
hope
there'll
so.
be some
Yeah.
kind of,
There'll certainly be questions.
yeah.
for sure.
I'll talk to Tim about that, I'm meeting with him tomorrow.
I'm sorry, did we make a motion to
No.
do this?
Somebody want to make a motion?
Motion to vote on Article 26, is it? Okay.
Yes.
Land acquisition, Pascaman.
Janine made a motion.
Pascamanza
Somebody
River.
want a second?
Second.
Bill second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I see none.
Gary, can you go up to the top and see those, I want to see those lot numbers again on that. So, map
That's,
39,
Map 39, 1 through 8, and then map 43. So map 39, 1 through 8, and then map 43.
and then,
Lot 1, labeled as Lot 1B, Tucker Road in Dartmouth, Massachusetts.
And you got other
oh,
ones.
there's something else on map 43, lot 1B.
Yeah, so on map, let me see this.
Yeah, another section.
Lots 19, 22, 23, 24, those are all contiguous on Dartmouth Assessors Map 39, Lot 1 through 8. So it looks like it's map 39 and 43.
Yeah, okay. Good.
Okay. Article 27?
Yep.
Those are citizens petition. Oh, I'm going.
So this is for the petition for a full liquor license. Let me see. To Lofberg Marketplace LLC, Farm and Coast.
Oh, the village?
Yes.
How long is this
Oh,
article?
it's,
Lengthy.
Okay. Okay, so, all right, so Farm and Market
Farming Coast.
Farm
Coast
Market
Market, yep.
Coast wants a liquor license to sell
Full liquor license.
They just have wine and beer right
Yeah,
now?
they
wine and beer?
Yeah.
All right, so they,
Petitioning
they're
for
not
a
gonna
full-
serve, they're just gonna,
No.
It's gonna be, yeah,
They serve now.
Next to the,
yeah, it'll be for a
Yeah.
full liquor license.
full liquor license.
Farmers on Tucker Road.
Yep.
Can you scroll down just so I can start at the beginning of this? I know it's lengthy, but,
Scroll up.
I'm sorry, whatever, so I can read the beginning. Thanks.
So it is.
What's a home rule petition?
So in Massachusetts, if any, now this is not just speaking on liquor licenses, but if there are any specific legislation that needs to go through on any community in Massachusetts, it's put forward as a home rule petition. A representative from the community, whether it be like a state rep, goes to the state house and vote, and pushes the home rule petition in front of the legislature. So it's like a one-off. It's not considered in, it's beyond the scope of a general government practices within the town. So let's say we wanted to make something appointed to elected, and they wanted to have something go through this legislature, they would ask for a home rule petition. That's really what it means. It's not just specific to liquor licenses. It's anything that the town would seem fit that a legislator could bring up to the State House.
This is a liquor license above and beyond the number that we have allocated right
I
now?
believe so, yes.
That's why.
So where is this? Is there more to this article?
Farm-
Farming Coast.
Farming Coast, yeah.
I do have a question.
Okay.
They already have a liquor license there for beer and wine, right? Would this be just an addendum to that liquor license to sell hard liquor, or, and also whatever else is entailed in this proposition?
Well, I think it is a brand-new, it would be a brand-new license
It has to
because
be a
they're,
brand new one?
well, because you think there's only so many beer and wine, and there's only so many full. So they're requesting a full.
Oh, so they can't add an addendum to that?
I don't believe it's an addendum. I think it's a
I
whole,
don't know why it shouldn't be,
New liquor
because it
license.
seems like a waste of paper. They could just add what they want to do to the license.
yeah, I'm not sure that it's an addendum. I think it's a whole new liquor license.
Can you go down some further so I can read some more, all this detail? Okay. So it looks like it doesn't add to our count, I guess, of liquor licenses. If for some reason or other Farming Coast no longer uses it, it just goes away. So much more detailed than last year's request.
And I think that's the reason why they redid this article, is because last year's request was kind of
They-
a little
Well, last
vague.
year was Divulge, right?
Correct, it was a
That's
different
right,
place,
That's right, that's right.
It's very,
But
if
it
you
was-
look at the,
like 3 sentences.
yeah, it was,
Yeah, no.
and I think the reason why they revamped it was because of that.
Yeah, makes sense.
So State Representative Markey would have to file this with the
Whoever would be the,
legislation and
as a home rule
the
petition.
general court, and there would be a vote
Yeah.
in Massachusetts. This just gives the town
The ability to,
the ability to do that.
Issue it.
Yeah. Okay,
Motion to recommend Article 27.
Is it Article 27?
Second?
Okay, so John made a motion to recommend. Janine seconded it. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Okay.
6.
Okay, so now we have Articles 28 through 35,
Okay.
which will be the end of the articles, but also all the charter amendments. So I know Terry's on the committee, so maybe she can speak to some of these a little bit as we go forward.
You need a motion first?
For
Yeah,
which,
somebody make a motion.
For discussion?
every single one separately though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Article 28.
Somebody want to make a
Omnibus.
recommendation to recommend charter, Article 28?
I'll make a motion.
Terry made a motion to,
Second.
second by Janine. Okay, discussion.
So let me give you a little report and a little background. So 2020, Charter Committee was appointed. Brian and I signed up from the Finance Committee. The task was to review the town's charter, which is supposed to be done every 10 years. And we did. And as a result of that process, which is hopefully finishing up, there are 8 recommendations. There's actually more, but some won't make this warrant. The first one is an overall review of the charter, and it's called omnibus corrections, which is basically Scrivener's errors, capitalization, clarifying language if there was anything that was misunderstood. There's no change to the original intent of the charter in Article 28. You'll see, everybody will get a copy of it to see what it looks like, but it's not quite finished yet. And the request is for town meeting to send this to the voters, which will then be in an election in April 2026. So any questions on that part? Yep.
So to send this specific article, but also to send them all to?
Send them all, yeah, one at a time. But this one is the least change.
This is
the least-
correct.
The
Dot
most
your-
pages.
dot your i's and cross
Controversial
your
if
t's.
there's any controversy.
Yeah, it's the most pages, but it's the least controversial. That's a good way to put it.
So it's just punctuation and,
Punctuation, it's going to be blue and green highlighting. Green is just punctuation, grammar, and blue is clarifying language. So if it wasn't clear what was meant, there's like a couple of words added, or if the law changed and it had to be brought up to date, but nothing in this section changes the original intent of the charter.
so we can vote on this
So
tonight?
language, punctuation, and grammar? Just try
Yeah.
to get it from
Yeah,
there. Okay.
yeah.
All right, any other questions?
Yes,
Okay,
those wordsmithing.
all in favor, we ready to vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, okay, all in favor? None? I mean, any against?
We'll have to trust you.
I know. Well, you'll get a
6-0.
copy of it, you'll definitely get a copy of it, but, yeah. There were enough people on that committee that if we were trying to pull a fast one, we wouldn't have been able to.
How
There
many
were a
people
lot
on
of
the
checks and
committee?
balances,
How
huh?
many people on the committee?
Well, there were, I think, 9 originally, but they changed over time. Somebody got sick, somebody had other commitments, so people changed out. But consistent members that you know would be Heidi Brooks, Sean McDonald, me, Brian, so bad. I know Dave Cunha was on it for a while, but then he was.
The harbor master, Steve, was he on?
Say it again?
He's Steve Mello, he was,
Yes, Steve, yes, thank you, Steve Mello, I'm losing my mind, but yeah. Because Steve was on the original charter development, so it was good to have him as background.
okay, Article 29?
So 29, this is a recommendation by the Charter Committee to change the Board of Assessors from an elected board to an appointed board. And the rationale for that, I know one of the first thoughts was, what is the select board up to here? But that wasn't the reason. The reason is that we all know of people that would be willing to serve on these committees, but do not want to campaign. They don't want to go out and collect signatures, they don't want to, hold signs. And this article and the next article, Board of Assessors and Board of Health, has had some experience with that. There are other boards and committees that have not had trouble filling, but these 2 boards were boards that seemed like it would be helpful. So as somebody who might have experience in real estate or in accounting, but did not want to run. And for the second article, I know we're only talking about one here, so I'll do that later. Any questions on this one?
Well, can we see powers and duty, can we see more?
That's a good idea.
Powers and duty?
Nothing was changed in the actual composition It has to be all written because it's a movement from, I think it's Article 3 to Article 4. Article 3 is elected boards, Article 4 is appointed boards.
Do we have to make a motion to discuss it?
Okay, somebody want to make a motion to, just to get it going?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Bill made a motion.
Second.
Second by
I'll second
Phil.
it.
Discussion?
So I have mixed feelings on this, only because, and this is not directed at any person or board, but when you start appointing people versus electing them, there is an inherent bias. You know, I am, I'm sure no surprise to anyone, very much pro, you know, election and voting and letting the people make their choices. So I said I have mixed feelings on it, because I just think once you go to everything being, and I know it's not everything, being appointed, I just feel like it's, you haven't left it up to the people to elect the person of their choice.
So can I counter that and
Yes,
just
ma'am.
say the other side of that is that, as I said, there are people who might want to run but might want to serve but don't want to run. And although these boards would be appointed, there are other boards that are appointed, so say Board of Public Works. It doesn't mean they're accountable to the Select Board. It means that there's a public forum. There's certainly been disagreements that I've seen this past year between boards. And it's up to the people who are in those positions to make themselves known. I think that you can use a bully pulpit even if you don't, and we do that in the Finance Committee. We don't have legitimate authority to say yes or no. We only have the ability to say, we've looked at this, we've studied this, we don't recommend it. And then it is up to the town meeting to determine that. So I think it's a good idea we're always trying to think of ways to get more people to be involved. We have the same people involved in our boards.
And if I may, I think if you went through some type of a vetting approach where you had a committee, say, interviewing these people who wanted to be assessors, then you would probably have some type of confidence pervade to the rest of the community, saying, hey, these people, they wanted to be on the Board of Assessors. We went through a vetting process, and we were all in agreement that so-and-so should be accepted or not. And I think that would be establishing a degree of confidence that it was done the right way, rather than somebody just arbitrarily being appointed by somebody to be an assessor. So, I think it was done with that type of logic, and conveyed a confidence level. I don't think you'd have a problem with that. And I agree. I know when I ran, it's hard when you're trying to get signatures and you're stumping, and a lot of people, they get to a certain age, they don't want to do that. They rather be.
Especially in February.
Yes, that's very true. And I've done that, as a school committee, I've stumped, and it's hard, and the older you get, the harder it is too. So I think it would be, it'd be good if we just appointed these people,
Anybody want to say anything?
Yeah, a couple of things. So I know the rationale, Jerry, you had mentioned that these two boards have had trouble in the past. I don't recall there ever being an empty seat on the Board of Health or the Board of Assessors because somebody was unwilling to run.
Right.
In my tenure, I've been here all my life. But I certainly can't recall that, so I don't know if that's a viable excuse to change it, in my opinion. I get people may not want to run because they don't want to be exposed to, getting signatures and spending money, whatever it may be, but I'd rather not change it until it becomes a problem. It's not a problem. The system's working. We have elections. People are running. They are qualified. And one thing you said that was a little concerning for me is that these people the assessors wouldn't be accountable to the Board of Selectmen? Well, who would they be accountable for? Right now, the assessors are accountable to the voters.
Right.
And I would hope if this changes, that the appointing authority is who makes them accountable. If I'm on the select board and I'm appointing somebody to the board of assessors, and they're not doing their job properly, then either are the select board, in my opinion, if they're the appointing authority, and saying, well, no, we don't, we're not accountable for them. You have to be accountable for them. If you're appointing them, you have to be accountable to them. So
I think you
I was a
may-
little
I
bit
think-
puzzled by that statement you made.
I think you make a good point, and that wasn't what I was saying. What I was saying is that they are not required to make recommendations that only the select board would accept. They're not required to be constrained by the opinions of the select board. There is an accountability there, and they do come and report to the select board on progress, what they've been doing in terms of their goals. I just meant that I think sometimes people worry that if the select board appoints them, then there's a requirement that they make the select board happy, and that's not the intent of this.
Well, in my opinion, it has to be the intent. If you're the appointing authority, you can't sit there and let a board of assessors or any other board go amok and not follow the town's vision of how a board of assessors should behave and what they should be striving for. If they're not doing that, they need to be replaced, and that's the select board. And I would hope they'd go in there first, say, hey, your vision just doesn't match our vision as the select board, and what you're doing there, something needs to change. And if they don't change it, then they don't get reappointed, I would hope, as the appointing authority would take that position. They have to be accountable. Now, I can't envision the select board going down there and micromanaging them, but certainly, if they're going in a direction where the select board are getting a lot of feedback from residents, and they too aren't seeing the vision, then something needs to change, and they have the power to change that.
I just wanted to follow up because I think John makes a very good point that who would they be accountable to? So, we are an appointed board, and, our appointments could easily change because there is a person who is in charge, basically, that can say, you're not reappointed. And he makes a point, like, who is that? So the select board decides they're not doing their task, I guess, and decides not to reappoint them? I don't know. It's a question.
So what was the vote at the committee?
I can't give you but it was general agreement. Yeah, it wasn't a controversial.
Wasn't controversial?
We didn't see this as losing anything, losing control or losing, we saw it more as a benefit than anything, by removing that need to campaign and go out and collect votes.
Bill, you wanna?
If I may add one
Mike
thing.
Smollett from-
Oh, go ahead, whoever wants to.
Okay, all right.
No, I just thought it was funny when she said, get off the board, and she pointed at me.
I apologize, I didn't.
No, I was just thinking, I want to follow on with, take Terry's side on this. You don't want the Board of Assessors, or anybody to feel the Board of Assessors is going to be influenced by the control of the Select Board. You don't want that either. There should be some type of an it should be arbitrary to be influenced by any governing source. So I can see their point, yes, they should be accountable to a degree, but in a certain portion of it, they shouldn't be accountable, they should be on their own, like the Federal Reserve is supposedly in this country, it's honest. Yes, they listen to politicians, but at the same time, they act amongst themselves, because these people are assessing properties, they're creating taxes, and I think you don't want somebody to come away and thinking the select board is gonna be telling these people what to do. And frankly, I like the idea of them being appointed. I think you'd probably get more interest in that than having people run for the election. I can see both sides, but I wouldn't mind seeing it turned over to, and would actually save the town money in a way, because you wouldn't have to have it part of the election.
Well, we have to have an election, so.
But it may be to a degree, you
Well-
know, saving.
Not the direction we're going.
So, it's my understanding that the actual employee who's the assessor really does the valuations, right?
Yep.
The board just approves them.
So
right?
under Mass General Law, the duties and, the powers and duties of a board of assessors is to hear abatements, hear exemptions, and the things that are governed under Mass General Law. The direction of the office is done by the assessor.
Yeah,
So we have Jessica Pacheco, who is going through her certification. It was Richard Gonzalez before, he's retired. But Jessica is now going through her certification to learn how to be an assessor, to be the department head in the office. But the three members of the board, they control the abatements, you know, all that, what's privy to them under Mass General Law. So that doesn't ever change, whether it's appointed or elected. Those duties and functions are still governed by Mass General Law.
yeah,
Bob,
okay.
just to Bill's comment about, you know, a select board could get too controlling of the Board of Assessors, and certainly always a fear, and I would be fearful of that. But that's what's great about the election process. So if I'm a resident and voter, and we see that happening, that, hey, this Board of Selectmen is micromanaging and pushing the Board of Assessors around, well, we can vote them out. And if they were appointed, we couldn't do that. But they are elected, so if the Board of Selectmen run amok and get too controlling, they're subject to opinion. And there are people, like myself and others, that would get up on their high horse and announce it to the town and their neighbors and friends and say, hey, you know, we've got a board that's, is not looking in the best interest of the town, and we need to make some changes there.
I mean, I was kind of leaning to what you had said, but, I mean, I don't ever remember an election where there was major issues on the election of a Board of Assessor. You know, it's always been qualifications, right?
Yeah, another key function, with the key function is to set the tax rate. So that is their, under Mass General Law, that is their number one function,
Right.
set the tax
But
rate.
they're limited because they have to do it according to the law.
Right, under Mass General Law, right, that's what
Under
governs
law,
them.
so, yeah. So it's not, they don't just make decisions, they gotta.
No.
Good, Jane.
So this year, there was actually two people that ran
Yep.
for one seat, the incumbent and another person who chose to run and gather their 50 signatures. What happens in the case where they're appointed? So a term is 3 years, I think, I forget. And somebody else comes along that wants to be on the board. So does that person have to go to the select board and ask to try and get on the board? Or what's the process at that point, I guess? Because now you have somebody new and interested, and the other person may, you know, maybe they've been on the board for, whatever, 6 years. But there's no term limits. I'm just curious how that process would go forward.
Well, there's an application process that's in place right now for appointed boards. People who are interested send a letter. They're interviewed at a public meeting with the
Just like
select
us.
board.
But somebody has to resign
If that's not right, I guess that would be true
or
of any.
not be reappointed
Or not
for
be
some
Yeah,
reason.
not be reappointed, their term would expire, and
Correct, but
They're
once again, it's just not the general public who gets to say,
Right.
so.
All right. All right, so are we ready to vote?
I guess.
Sure.
Okay. All right, so basically, the premise on this would give, there would be no more elections for the Board of Assessors in the future. And it would be, the Board of Assessors would be appointed by the Select Board. Is that correct? Okay.
One clarification, that's not the vote. The vote is, do you support sending this to the voters in the April 2026 election? That's the confusing part that I was trying to say at the beginning.
Okay,
It's not so much that we agree or disagree, it's will the town meeting be willing to send these recommendations to the voters?
Okay.
So,
But
on
we still
that-
have to recommend or not recommend though, right? We have to recommend or not recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
recommend or not recommend.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
let me understand the process, Terry. So, what do you got, 5 articles, or 6 articles, or
8.
whatever? 8 articles. That would eventually get to the voters, but it first has to get by town meeting. If town meeting votes Article 29 down, there would only be 7.
They wouldn't be voting the article down, they'd be voting to not send it to the voters.
Voters.
Right. So that's my
what I'm-
point.
So it's not, you still have your opinion about, you know,
Yeah.
which way you, it's.
Well, we
I
still
can't-
could
I
have
guess-
an impact that this, if town meeting doesn't support this, the voters never get to hear it.
Right, and I guess I don't understand why we would vote not to send this to the voters. Can somebody explain to me why we would recommend that?
I thought we just did.
No,
Well, they just
I heard what you said about what you think about the article, but what is the argument for not sending it to the voters?
Well, because I'm asked to make a recommendation, right? We're asked to make a decision now. I don't support this, so,
Because in our recommendation, we wouldn't be writing that we agree or disagree with what's in here. We'd be writing why we would or would not send it to the voters.
I don't know about that, Terry.
So I have no problem with this, of course, going to town meeting, because we never stop anything. Obviously, all these articles go to town meeting, but we have always weighed in on how we feel about them.
Process.
And then town meeting can
makes a
do as they
decision.
will.
Do whatever they want.
You know, I mean, I get that, that's the process. But we've always offered up an opinion on what we think on these articles. But it never stops them from being voted on.
Okay?
Okay. So, all in favor of Article 29, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
So what was that?
No, I'll vote yea.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Also, it's 4-2.
I was thinking about it for a moment, that's all.
So it's
four,
4-2?
5-1.
No, wait a minute now.
No,
Terry and
So
I,
Terry
Okay.
and Bill, I
Oh,
know,
I didn't hear you.
are
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah, 4-2.
Are yes, and I didn't hear what you voted.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, well, you know, when everybody else at once, we
So-
don't hear it.
So one of you two can altogether write the minority opinion?
So what was
I'm
it?
sorry, so then it's John and I, and where's,
42
Yes.
in
Yes.
favor of.
So you're with
sending
Terry
this
and
to
Bill.
voters.
No,
oh my
I'm
God,
with the rest of you.
okay, thank you.
4-2-0.
420.
4-2-0.
Correct.
So just to be clear, Terry voted yes, I voted yes,
And I
Bill
did.
voted yes, and
And
Phil
Phil.
voted yes. John voted nay, and Janine voted nay.
That'd be correct.
No, no,
no,
see, that's the difference. No, that's, yeah.
All right, go ahead.
It doesn't get-
3-3, I think it's 3-3.
Yes, it's 3-3.
Who voted no?
Against this?
Yes,
I did, Janine did, and I think you did.
These two,
they voted no.
no.
Right.
Okay.
It's 3-3. So Bob, Bill, and Terry are voting to recommend, and John, myself, and you are voting to not recommend. Is that correct?
Wait a minute, Phil's thinking.
No.
Hold on.
It's 4-2.
Right, that's what I thought. You
That's what I thought.
You're voting to send that to the voters.
Yes.
It's confusing. It is confusing. I
I'm
will
voting
say
to
it's a
let
confusing process.
to let the voters decide what they
Right.
want.
So he's yay, and you two guys are
If they want to keep it the way it is, they can keep it the way it is. If they want to change it, they can change it.
We'll let the voters decide, that's. what-
Exactly.
I always let the voters decide, but I have an opinion along the way.
I expect nothing less, you believe.
Thank you.
Well, this is going to town meeting no matter what we vote.
Right, I realize
So
that.
I don't-
Of course.
I don't get the argument about sending it to the voters at all. It's just control, voters or the select board, and that's what this comes down to.
All right,
Okay,
Okay, Article 30,
move on.
same,
So Article
Same
30,
issue
it's a similar example. I'll make a motion to approve.
Article
So
30.
we can
okay.
discuss. And it's very similar. With the Board of Health, I know that there have been a limited number of people interested, and some people have hung on in the job, even though they would have turned it over to somebody else if somebody else applied. So again, and this is a situation where if there were physicians who were interested in being on the Board of Health, and that would be a valuable resource, but people may not want to go out and collect signatures. I guess I have a bias in trying to figure out how to get more people involved, and that's one of the reasons I think it's a good idea.
Okay, so let me, what was Chris's, how did Chris feel about this? Did you ask him?
He thought, I did speak with him, and he could understand why the committee was recommending it. And honestly, I think in the end, it makes sense for a lot of the boards to be like this, because although we might be political nerds and we kind of know the people who are involved and the people who are here, most people are not at that level, and they don't know the people who are running and their record and all of that. So I think one way that I've learned about what's going on in this town is by serving in this position, serving on the youth commission for a while. But I wouldn't have run for either one, you know, I wouldn't. I ran for school committee, and it was interesting. So,
Always is,
Yeah,
Terry.
it certainly is.
Always is, Terry.
yeah. So this is a similar issue, and we did talk to Chris, I did talk to Chris.
And so
about it,
you
just
made
to
the
get
motion,
his
did
input.
anybody second it?
I don't know. who's seconded it.
Bill seconded it? Okay, Bill seconded it. Discussion, basically the same issue. Select board control versus voter control. So do we need to have more discussion on this, or?
No.
Not unless you want to hear me say everything again.
Yeah.
All right,
Just offering it.
That's fair.
you have a right to say it, so. but-
Nope,
It's
vote.
America.
We have to vote. We gotta
ready to vote.
We gotta vote on this.
Okay, all right, let's be clear now. All in favor of
Sending
allowing-
it to the voters.
Sending to the voters.
No, I can't.
See,
Where
that's-
where does it say that? Show me in that thing where it says send it to the voters. This is
To see if the
control-
town will vote to submit to the voters of the town for approval.
I think that's
To
it.
see if the town will vote to submit to the voters of the town for approval the following amendment.
That's only because the town, that's only because the town meeting members cannot change this. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, I guess anybody can make an amendment
Actually, in
from the
theory, they
floor.
can change it.
No, I'm saying.
Yeah, any
they
charter
can't do it on
amendment
the-
goes to the voters.
Has
Any
to
charter
go to the
amendment.
voters.
Right.
So
this just asked the- this just
we're
asked the
town-
question.
we're advisors to town meeting, and we're advising town meeting whether to send this to the voters.
Right, this asked the question on whether or not the finance committee would recommend sending it to the town, to the voters.
Right.
That's what it
But
is.
town
Asked the
meeting
question.
has the approval not to send it to the voters.
Right, town meeting could say no, then it's,
Right.
that's dead on the, yeah.
All right, so we're ready to vote?
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed?
Opposed.
So it's the same thing for two.
Did you expect anything different?
What a two.
Okay, Article 31 is the Superintendent of Public Works.
Yep. No, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped on to the, so Superintendent of Public Works, the issue here is that in the charter right now, the way it's written, the Board of Public Works could decide on and set the salary for the department head. And that is not true of any, the only board that does that, and it's by law, is the school committee. All the other boards in town are appointed by the select board, the department heads are appointed by the select board. So needless to say, best practice would be to get input from the Board of Public Works. They would review resumes, they would make recommendations. But the feeling of the charter committee was that they should not be able to decide who they wanted as department head and set their salary. It should be like all the other boards.
Okay. Well, somebody want to make a motion? To vote?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Terry made a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Bill second. Is this discussion?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I know, and I think it's in the charter, you may review it, I believe I know it is, the planning director is a joint appointment between the planning board and the select board. That's in the charter currently. Why couldn't that be the same here, where you know, it seems like we've got all this expertise in the Board of Public Works, and we're ignoring any recommendation they may have, or any vote that they may
No,
have.
that's not the case. There's-
Well, not I'm saying ignoring their recommendation, but they don't have any say other than,
No, they have all the say in the world, they just can't say, we'll pay you this much, and, you know, we're choosing this person.
shall appoint and fix the compensation.
Right.
Yeah,
Like they do with all the other boards, that's, I'm looking for the charter, because I wasn't aware that that
So,
was the case.
my point is, the Board of Public Work has no authority to appoint.
exactly.
Yeah, it's
Right?
just not, no, it's not true, it's
But
the,
that's what that says.
it's not black and white. If you think about any other department, when the position becomes open, it's advertised, the actual department has a committee that reviews the resumes, interviews, makes recommendations to the select board. It's just at the end that the select board determines the salary and the person.
Right. That's right. So the Board of Selectmen don't have a vote on who they appoint or what the salary is.
Right now.
Right.
No, the
But
way
that's not
this
what
is
that
written.
says.
The way,
You
I
meant to
think
say the Board of Directors.
when Tim,
Says
the
the
last
select
director
board
did that was
shall
a joint
appoint.
appointment. Because I think they had the
For a
same thing.
term of
saying
not more
as
than
of
3
right
years,
now,
and shall
it's
fix
joint.
the compensation.
Jointly with,
I believe so.
so I can remember the conversations going back with the select board and the thing on the appointment.
I'm not, I know it is with the planning board. I shouldn't, I'm not 100% sure on the DPW.
So,
But-
as we understand it right now, the DPW board decides who's gonna be the DPW manager and their salary right now. Is that correct? And so this would change it to the select board. It wouldn't be joint, it would be
It
select.
wouldn't be jointly, so which I'm having a little trouble with that, with the,
So all the other departments, it's joint now or not joint? I'm
no,
sorry.
I think the only one that's jointly is the planning board.
Okay, and every other one is the select board makes the decision?
They,
I'm not sure.
it's not black and white, they make a decision after what I said. So people apply, there's a committee that's established, reviews the resumes, does interviews, so they absolutely would have input. That's not the kind of thing that gets written in a charter anyway. Those practices are not the kind of thing that get written.
But those committees, all they do is make a recommendation. They don't have a say. So I understand the process, I've been through it, you know, and I've seen it, witnessed it, that, yeah, there's always a committee, and usually there's members from the appropriate board that go out, interview, and they make selections, and they determine, you know, his candidate, number one and number two, and bring it forth to the select board. And the select board have the final say, not the committee who is making recommendation. They have no vote.
I don't see where the planning board,
Well,
I'm
we're
looking
not
at the
discussing
charter.
the planning board.
No, it's just for a comparison point, that's
Yeah,
all.
but I just wanna,
The charter.
I just wanna be clear. Oh, by the way, who do you report to?
The town administrator.
Town administrator? Because at the select board meeting, they said you report to the select board.
Well, ultimately, it's the select board. I mean, it's the select board, as John had mentioned, it's the select board that, appoints me.
Yeah.
But it's the recommendation from a committee that was.
Yeah, I was part of that committee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the select board ultimately is the one that appoints, because they're signing the contracts. Ultimately signing the contracts.
Okay, the select board signs a contract?
Yes, the planning board.
All right. So, yeah, we gotta get away from the planning board, because this, we're not talking about.
No,
planning board. Okay. So, I just wanna be clear. As of today, the Public Works Committee decides who is gonna be the director of DPW and what the salary is. And this would change it to the select board, so am I clear now?
This would bring it in line with the other boards.
And was that, what I was just saying true?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I
So,
think it's kind
when the
of,
when the school committee hired the superintendent, people on the
Yeah.
finance committee were mad that we didn't get to weigh in.
yeah.
It's because general law says they have that responsibility.
Well,
No other department is.
But there's two things. When I was on the committee for Gary, we had all these different people. We had
Yeah.
somebody from the Board of Assessors, a few other people. We made a recommendation, and that recommendation went to the select board, and the select board, we didn't decide. So in the school committee situation, you could have, they had a lot of people that were involved in the selection
Yeah.
process, and they recommended to the school committee chose.
Yeah.
So,
So do we know what, we don't have the link, it says the first sentence of section 4.5C be deleted. That would give us the answers we're looking for right now. What's being deleted?
I'll look for it.
Terry can look it up.
Yes.
yeah, I think it's kind of dangerous to have, a committee make that decision, not the select board. Because they're not, the select board is in charge of management. And that's the executive branch of government, it's local government, whereas these people get appointed by the select board. But that doesn't mean,
What section is it
know.
again? Section
I
4.
mean, it sounds like what the goal of this article is to get it in line with other,
yeah, no, I understand
Other,
that, yeah, yeah.
So the sentence that's in the current charter is, "The Board of Public Works shall appoint for a term of not more than 3 years and fix the compensation of a Director of Public Works,
Yep.
who shall exercise and perform blah, blah, blah."
So it's not joint, it's solely their responsibility now. Okay.
And that was out of line with the other boards in town. It didn't seem to make sense to do
I
that.
know you don't want to talk about the planning board, but I just want to know if that is the one board that's, does it differently.
That was my understanding. That's why I'm trying to find where in the charter it says,
Yeah, I'm not against it, I'm just
No,
saying.
no, I just
it's
wanna
not part of this
understand.
discussion, yeah.
I know it's not part of the discussion,
Okay,
but
okay.
if it's the sole board that still does it a different way,
So we want to wait for Terry? No
No,
pressure,
she-
Terry, no
she
pressure.
she found
No,
it.
she found it.
Yeah.
Oh, she found,
She
okay.
found it.
that was what I just read.
Well, yeah, about the planning board. All right, so are we ready to vote?
Got a motion on the floor?
Yep.
Yeah, we already had the motion, yeah. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
6.
6-0.
No, okay, 6-0, okay.
Okay, Article 32.
Dartmouth Historical Commission. So one of the other things that we considered was numbers of people on boards, and this is one of the boards that has had trouble filling online positions. So after consultation with the chairperson, she requested, and it made sense to the committee, to change it from 9 to 7. Because there are 7 right now, and that seemed like a workable committee.
Terry, how long has it been just 7 people, just recently, or for a while, or what?
It's the position, the seats have been open for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Did you consider 5 at all?
I think they did, but they didn't want to deal with who would get kicked off. Right? So this made sense. I mean, we recommended an odd number. You'll see later that the library board, we made the same recommendation, but people have different opinions about it. But this was pretty straightforward. It wasn't a... So I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, so Terry made a motion to approve Article 32. Someone want a second?
I'll second it.
Bill, second. Discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? I see none.
6. 0, 0.
So the next one is one that
33.
is probably a little more controversial.
It's, and confusing.
There wasn't I'll make a motion to approve Article 34.
So Terry made a
Oh,
motion.
I'm lying.
Explain it.
This is not Article 33, Parks and Rec.
Yes.
The issue here is that the
Well,
charter,
let's get somebody second it for,
oh, yeah.
somebody want to second it?
I'll second it.
All right, Bill, second it. Discussion, go ahead.
So the, yeah, they really, I don't know why they, you're right, John, they should say what it says right now.
right, we deleted something, and we don't know what was deleted.
And so right now in the charter, when this changed, I guess this changed on the last charter, they absorbed the cemetery board as well as, I forget what else, but the language in the charter was similar to the way that they elect the select board, which is that there will be, I know John's gonna wanna know, what does it say? So let me see if I can find that. And this, it's never been done that way, bottom line. So this is to change it to
What, you
the way it's being done.
want me to, want to chip in
Okay,
here?
so the members of the Parks and Recreation Board shall be elected in single-member office elections in which the candidate who obtains more votes than any other is elected. First past the plurality victory, whatever that means. So my understanding is that when they discussed this, they thought that there should be seats like the select board. And they've just never, since the beginning of time, they've never made that change. So we recommended making it like all the elections. whoever
So you
gets
run
the
for
most.
the seat.
No, we're suggesting that if there's two openings, two people expire in a particular year, it's
The
whoever
the
gets
highest
the.
voter, the highest vote getters would
Right.
get
Fill the two seats as voters.
Spot.
And
So, for
even the
example,
select
like-
board the same, though? We didn't
Well,
change it.
that's coming, but yes.
Coming,
that's-
yeah,
that's
that's
coming.
gonna be the one.
And that's the controversy, but yes, the same thing. So right now, for example, David Tattlebaum ran unopposed, right?
Finish one and two, gets the seats.
In this situation, he would be in with the rest. So whoever gets the top two votes. I'll talk about select board later. But anyway, so the reason this shouldn't be an issue is it's never been done. So it's just to correct the language in the charter. But because it's a significant change, it has to be a separate article.
It's never been, no, that was the way it was done before, and that's why the select board changed it, because, so under this scenario, right, if two seats are open
Yeah.
and four people decide to run, so we got Janine and Bob on the park board.
Yeah.
I want to run, and I want to bump out Janine. I don't like Janine's philosophy. I'm going after Janine. I could bump out Bob, who I support his philosophy.
That's right.
So that's why the select board changed, because the fear of bumping out the person you support and not going after the person you don't support.
And I'll go into this some more later, but that's exactly what it was. And although that's what it says, it was never done.
Yeah,
The
they,
Parks,
Plus,
the
if you-
Parks and Rec have never
If you
run.
vote,
But it's being
If
done
you're
with the
voting
select board,
for
and you're gonna
two
change it
anyway.
back to where it was.
But we're not on that right now. So on Parks and
you're
Rec.
gonna vote for the person you support and then one other person.
The issue with Parks and Rec, simply just to keep it clear, because that is another conversation
Yeah.
on the select board. Parks and Rec, although the language in the charter says this, when we checked in to see what is being done, it's not being done that way. It's being
Well,
done like
then-
all the other boards.
It was illegal then, if it
Well,
was in
maybe
the
it was,
charter.
but that was then and this is now, so.
they've been doing it wrong. They've been doing it wrong.
And we're not gonna go backwards and figure all that stuff out. We're just saying it should be corrected to the actual practice that,
No, it should be corrected. I mean, someone should have gone after the park department and saying, you're doing it wrong. We don't, we're rewarding bad behavior. I'm not gonna follow the charter. I'm gonna do what I want. Oh, and now that I've done that, you're gonna change the rules to
I don't know if
bad
that was,
behavior.
you may be talking about a
That's hard to
motivation.
figure out.
I don't
where
think
that
it was
fell through the cracks.
motivation to do that, and it may be, but
I don't know.
I think it was just possibly an oversight, and, people have just run and the issue, so I'll get into this now, even though I didn't want to. One of the things that came up in our conversation in the select board is the seat that you're running, what is that representative of somebody? How does that become a seat? It's not, first of all, it's done nowhere else in the Commonwealth. The consultants that we worked with said they're not aware of this being a practice, and it's not like a city council where you represent certain precincts. It's just arbitrary, that somebody at some point decided this would be a good way to do it. And to me, it seems more fair that if there's 2 openings and 3 people run.
Well, I can tell you this, it wasn't arbitrary, it was a big discussion, I can't remember what year it was, but it was a big discussion because of what I said before, is that the fear of bumping the person who you support and not bumping the person who you don't support. So that's why it was done. It wasn't, there was a rationale behind it, whether you agree with it or not. That's why it was done, and it was supported to the change, and now,
That's why we're happy to have you on the finance committee, because you remember the story. but
yeah,
we
and again, I don't remember, when it was, but I remember the debate. And I remember people saying, I don't want to bump out Bob, I want to bump out Janine.
There was a
you know,
lot of conversation about the election process, and in the end, the committee, there were many different points of view, and in the end, the committee said the most fair thing to recommend is that the top vote getters, that's logical, in an election, get the openings. So
okay.
that was it, but for this Parks and Rec, it's not for that reason, it's because it's not the practice, and we weren't recommending it anyway, so we're suggesting that this sentence be removed.
Bill, you had something to say?
I just want to say, school committee, when those elections come up, sometimes you have 2 seats
Yep.
come up. There's only one year we only have one person running by himself. So you run that risk too. On the school committee, same thing John's talking about. You run the risk of somebody that's popular or you're in favor of getting knocked out because he finished 3rd instead of 1 and 2. So that's the same issue there, so you have to change that one too.
And does that promote someone seeking election? Do I really want to run and possibly bump out the person I support? So we may discourage people with this practice. I don't know, it's something, right? I don't want to take the chance and bump out the person. I'm not going to run. I don't want to bump out the person.
All right, so I'm just going to try to summarize, based on what I've heard today, what I heard yesterday at the Select Board meeting, that the current charter calls for a seat. In other words, whoever comes up is voting for a seat.
Only on the select board.
No, on
In the
this.
school committee.
No, we're
Well,
talking
we
about
did on the
Parks
park
and Rec.
department, I guess they weren't
Parks,
for
Parks.
Yeah.
Parks and Recreation, you run for a seat, okay? And so this would change it to the highest number of voters. So the old charter said you ran for a seat, and this is, you run for the highest number of voters.
So it will change the language, it will not change the practice. The elections that have been held have not been done according to the charter.
But the charter will be consistent, don't know.
Yeah.
The
So
select board and
right
the park
now,
department.
so these past elections, it was the highest number of voters.
Yeah, that's what they've been doing in Parks and Rec.
Okay, so is everybody clear on that? So it's just changing it so their actual practice, really, what it came down to. So either, and the only other thing is, do you agree with the practice? Okay,
So, just to say this didn't go through, it went all the way to the town and it still got voted down. So we would go back to the original line in the charter, which basically says the same thing.
Well, what's going to be interesting, Janine, is that this would not go before the voters until August 26, right? So in the next election, now that this has been made aware to the town clerk, it's going to have to be followed.
yeah.
So I don't know how that's going to work, because I can't even imagine how that's going to work, but it will have to be done according to the charter now that it's been brought to people's attention.
So no matter what, it has to be done this way, because that was in
the
the
next
original
election.
charter.
Yep.
And the ownership of this goes to the town clerk.
Correct. Yeah.
But I don't have any faith it will be done that way because it wasn't done the way it was supposed to be
Well,
a year ago, right? I mean,
I don't know, that's
We were-
beyond my pay
Well, in the
grade.
last, right.
That's-
I know.
No, they have to do it, they have to do it right
It's
next
above my
year.
pay grade. I don't know what
Okay, I don't know
happens
how
in
that
this
Why
process
didn't they have
works
to do it
at
right
this
this
point.
year?
Yeah, well, but now they know.
It's already
Now
done.
they know.
And last year, and the year before that, I mean, it makes, I'm being the devil's advocate here, you know, it's like.
So,
No,
so
that's fine.
what was the committee's feeling? It was mixed on this?
Oh, yeah. No, it wasn't mixed at all.
Was it
'Cause-
unanimous?
No, yeah, because it's basically doing what's being done.
Okay.
It's a
And,
correction, in our opinion.
and what does the Parks and Recreation think?
I don't,
We do
I don't, I did not speak to them, so somebody else may have, but, I mean, the bottom line is, I did hear back from the clerk. I wanted to find out what was being done right now, because we considered whether we should make this be the case with every board. To be honest, that was one of the topics of discussion at one point. And when we started to think about, what is a seat anyway? What is it, who does that represent? It's not like a,
Yeah, no,
you know, so we decided to not.
it's really just a term, that's really,
Yep,
yeah.
yep,
All right, we ready to vote?
yep.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, make a motion to approve Article 34.
Okay, Terry made a motion to approve Article 34. Phil? Phil?
Second.
Second, Phil, second. All right.
So I think it's interesting that in this article,
They put the
the
old language.
sentence is there, right? I know, and that's gonna be feedback. I'll let Heidi know that we
Alright.
should do that with the other. But, so basically, as the terms of office, and this is not in section 3, it's in section 7 of the charter. Maybe, I'm not sure why. But as the terms of office of the incumbent members of the select board thereafter expire, candidates shall run for the office of select person by the number assigned to a specific seat. And instead, the person receiving the highest number of votes shall be elected to the board. That was the recommendation. Oh, I know, it's in chapter 7, I think, Article 7 of the charter, because it was the first time that it was implemented. It was the home rule back in like 2000, I think, when it was approved. So there was a lot of language about how we're gonna put this into place. So it kind of doesn't apply anymore, because we've had it in place. But this would change that. So this was not unanimous
In your group.
in my group, but it was definitely the majority. And again, you know, we talked about ranked choice voting, we talked about like all different ways of doing this, and it just seemed the most fair to, at this point, recommend the top vote getters win.
And what was the select board?
One member of the committee who was on the select board made the argument that John made, basically, that now you could bump somebody out that you don't want to bump out. The feeling was that if I do a good job, you know, I should be able to hang on to my seat, and if I don't, then get rid of me. But it would be, you know, focused on one person. It's just not done anywhere. It's not done, we checked with the consultant that we had, nobody else in the Commonwealth does it like this, so.
So the majority of towns do this, rank.
Right, they have so there's 5 people, and when they first put this into place, there was a 3-year, a 2-year, and a 1-year. And then it went into all 3 years, so they expire at different, so you have some people who have been there for a long time. Like, the planning board has a 5-year term, and that makes sense, because you need people, it takes a long time to learn, and then you want people to be available. But the select board has 3-year terms, so it would be that 1 year, one position might be open, the next year 2 might be open, but whatever it is, whoever.
Well, it's not an issue, it's not an issue when there's one person running. It's an issue when 2 people are running, right?
Well, it is if somebody runs against them, you know, I guess it would be more clear. So if, like, I gave the
Yeah,
example of David.
People
David-
wouldn't be running unopposed anymore.
Right.
Right.
There'd always be,
If,
Yep.
you'd have choice A or choice B,
Yep.
or,
Yep.
Yeah.
So I understand why people don't like it. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a fair idea.
I understand both sides.
Yeah, no, it's,
I can,
Well, my argument is the same. I believe in the election process where you choose to run against another person. I've never been a proponent of ranked choice voting, and neither has the state of Massachusetts.
I'm not surprised at that, Janine.
I'm not shocking you, I get that, but anyway, my argument is the same as it was for the other two.
Any other questions?
okay, we end the discussion.
You gonna vote?
Yeah,
You got to vote, right?
You have a motion?
Yeah, no, yeah, Terry made the motion, Phil seconded it. We're ready to vote, I'm just thinking.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Me.
Okay.
it's gonna be, interesting debate on town meeting floor, right?
Oh, yeah.
I could go either way on this one. you know.
Yeah, me too.
It's gonna be interesting to see what the debate's
I
gonna
know,
be.
I feel sorry for whoever from the charter committee has to explain this one, because that's going to be,
Is it 510?
yeah.
510?
510.
Correct.
And then,
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve Article 35,
Okay, Article 35, charter amendment.
change the number of
Okay,
trustees.
so Terry made the motion, John seconded. This is.
So right now, apparently the Mass Library Association suggests 6 people on a board. I don't know what the rationale for that is, but in our mind, that sets up a situation where there could be a tie, so we recommended changing it to 5, I think, right? Yeah, to have an odd number, so, and I think the library trustees, I don't think they had a big issue with it, they just said, this is why we do it this way, so we think it should be changed. We were looking for consistency mainly, you know, in this, to make it a fair process across the board. That was why we recommended it. And that was fine with everybody. People didn't have an issue with that. What would happen is that there's a 1-year term right now, I think, so if this were implemented, the person who has the 1-year term, that
Expires.
position would be eliminated, right?
And this is recommended by the Massachusetts Library?
No, the Mass Library Association, I was told, I didn't read this, but I was told that they suggest 6 people.
Suggest.
Suggest,
Suggest,
correct,
not
it's not a
I remember asking
requirement.
that in the beginning, because you never have an even number on the board. And,
Yeah.
you know, I sit in on all their meetings, and I'm like, why do you have an even number on your board?
I know.
Not that they have a lot of controversy.
No, I understand. No, and that we have a good Board of Library Trustees, we have an active
There's a lot more to it than that, Bill.
So that's it? Just going from 6 to 5?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
And they're in favor of it?
yep. We were in favor of it. I don't think they were against it per se.
Yeah,
They just, yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're ready to vote?
Yep.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I see none.
6, 0, 0.
6-0.
Could I float a couple of ideas before are we all done?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've been thinking about the letter to town meeting, and one of the things that I think about, it came up with the Cornell Pond situation. The dams belong to the town, they're inspected periodically. It was not clear who is responsible to follow up on that, and there is a requirement that, you know, progress towards addressing whatever issues came up is reported to the state. And I think it's important that we clarify that when we do these projects, that we become clear on, is it Conservation Commission, is it DPW, is it a combination of them, that there be some person in charge, because I think what happens is then as people leave, the projects fall by the wayside and get lost. There isn't somebody who really follows up on that. So that was one of the things I wanted to mention. And another thing I want to mention and I know not everybody's in favor of this, but in terms of the school department, I think we have to lay out what the issues are with funding in the next few years. You know, we saw the and I'll work on the draft for that and get it to people so you can look at it, but I think that we owe it to people to say, yep, we were saved by school choice this year, we're not gonna be saved by school choice next year. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you spoke about, as far as being clear on the authority, I really think that's the select board's.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, they're the executive branch. I mean, we can comment on it, you
Yeah.
know, but we can say that in this instance it was thing, but it's really the select board is the executive branch, and they're responsible to make sure things are followed through. And then on the second thing, I don't see it as the school, obviously, because it's such a big part of the budget, but I see it as a town issue. I don't necessarily see it just as a school. I think we talk about the schools, but I think it's the financial situation we're running into is pretty evident. And, you know, I'd like to add a thing about the actuals. I want to talk about the actuals. Unfortunately, the actuals for this year won't be available till July. So I have 3 years actuals, and I want to do like a paragraph on the way the actuals are going, because in essence, we do budgets. We spend a lot of time talking about budgets, but in the end, it's actuals that count, because the amount that's left over is used for free cash to do, you know, capital improvements. And we're definitely, as I did my 50-year projection, I started working on that. So I want to talk about that.
Do you think that we should be making recommendations about what needs to be done to address that problem? So, for
I
example,
think-
one of the things that Brian brings up all the time is development.
Yeah.
You know,
And
looking at how to bring up.
And Bill brings up, I think we should. I think, I don't think the school committee is going to be happy with that, but, you know, Bill's always talking about the buses, and there's also, you know, subcontracting versus hiring people. That's an issue. I think if they go for Proposition 2.5 and they make it all about the school, I don't think that's the right way. I think it should be a whole town situation, because all the expenses for all the departments are exceeding the revenue that's coming in. That's the issue. And the school department, obviously, you know, over 65% of the school, the taxes go to the school, so they're a big part of that. But I think it's got to be a whole town situation, because that's where I think you get more approval. I think it's a mistake if they make it as just a school thing.
I'd like to talk some more about it then, so
Okay,
maybe we
all
can
right.
do that
Yeah.
next time.
Yeah.
So, you have a draft of, what I did was took last year's memo,
Yeah.
updated it with this year's numbers, and then there's one graph that I need to update. I gotta go on the DLS website, I'll do that tonight. And so these numbers here are updated to what the budget reflects FY '25. It goes into the general fund operating expenses, the revenues, local receipts. So we've gone out 10 years. I know John wanted to have a snapshot of 10 years. And then I also updated the state aid, updated the levy, the town's population, per capita income.
Go.
Where? What?
The town population. That's going down.
Yeah. So on the DLS website, it shows a decrease.
And that's accurate information, right?
That's off the DLS website.
Okay.
Spelling, town population, next line down.
Town population.
Sorry, I have an eagle eye for spelling.
No, that's okay.
Population.
Well,
No, you have-
should we change that to declining?
It's not
Declining, certainly
population.
not flat.
The spelling of population.
What was
No,
that,
next
Jeannie?
one.
It's
Ah.
third ward.
Take the L
Town's
out
population, take the
Population.
L out, yeah. Population.
Beautiful.
and take out
Flat.
flat. Is,
Just is
Is
declining.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
there you go.
Now, it's interesting whether or not they pull in voter information, because, as you know, UMass Dartmouth is a big piece of this, so I'm always leery whether or not this is skewed, because whether or not they live here is another,
Well,
because
they're
I
in the
believe that.
census, right?
Yeah, but-
They're
I believe,
precinct.
yeah, I believe that they're in a census, so whether they vote at UMass and then live in town, I'm not sure
I
what the,
don't think they
The
vote,
students
that.
fill out the census?
they vote.
Yeah,
Yeah, they-
built
but they
District
don't
Three.
vote they vote in their own towns, don't they?
For the most part, but
Yeah.
some vote here probably,
not-
but
not
yeah,
too
they vote in
sure.
their own.
Because that was another thing the charter committee looked at, was at one point considering whether to reduce the number of town meeting members, because we have basically a precinct that is
Is the college.
non-populated. But in the end, we didn't see the data for doing that, so. we didn't.
So per capita income, that's been updated. The one I have to update is this one here. So I'll update that tonight,
okay.
and then this has been updated.
Okay, just slow down, okay, just, go down, okay.
Now, to the verbiage?
No, just.
Right there.
Right there.
Yes, this one here is revenue source by fiscal year in total, per the fiscal year. So it takes in the tax levy, the state aid, local receipts, and then all other. So as you know, this fiscal year, we're at 103 million for the budget. It's the first time the town's gone over 100 million in the budget. It was 99 million last year.
Yeah,
Now it's 103.
right.
It'd be nice to have a graph that had this and the expenses, the actual expenses.
Well,
I could
actually,
probably put,
if I may, Brian did something to that effect, where he had, remember, he had revenues going down and expenditures going up. Remember the one he presented not too long ago,
it
so.
wasn't part of the last year's memo, was it? He might
I
have.
don't believe it was,
yeah.
Gary. It was something he did on the side to present an issue that was pretty prevalent as far as we were concerned about, declining revenues and increasing expenses. So I think what Bob's alluding to, we could have something like that, as long as it was factual.
With this chart, though, that's property, that's nothing to do with that. Yeah, maybe we take a graph and we show the revenues and expenses on one
So,
graph.
so you got this from the Mass Department of Revenue?
Division of Local Services.
Is- Okay.
Yeah, Department of Revenue.
Will they have the actuals?
They should.
Okay,
They should have the actuals, yeah.
because I think that would make a pretty good chart.
Yeah, I mean, unless we want to get rid of this chart and put in like the chart that, Brian
Yeah, I
Brian
don't want to
had.
get rid of this. I don't want to get rid of this.
Yeah, maybe we add to it.
Add to it, Bob.
Yeah, I'll talk to Brian, I know he's away, but maybe he can forward that to me.
Yeah, I forget, he did something, I forget, it's in a
Okay.
presentation he did, I can't remember how far back it was.
So then, this has been, as you read, as I was reading some of this from last year, a lot of it is still pertinent. Most of all of it is still pertinent, because really we're still in a stagnant economy, and a lot of this stuff hasn't changed much. So, most of it's stayed in here, the tax bill, the average tax bill is $4,000
So
per
you
year.
updated that?
Yeah, this has all been updated. So what I would suggest is maybe, it's already 5:45, but maybe I forward this version onto the committee, and then next week, if you want to add, like, some of the things
Well,
that Terry was
Thursday.
saying. Thursday. We add and subtract to whatever is here. Because it would be nice to have this finalized by Thursday, so I can send it to the clerk.
Oh, boy,
That would
Thursday.
be,
Oh, this Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the deadline for her to mail it early?
Well, I would be the one mailing it, so, I believe it has to be in the hands of the
May 8th,
residents
right?
2 weeks prior to the town meeting members, 2 weeks prior to town meeting. So that's like the middle of May. So I think the sooner the sooner I can get it
Yeah.
Of
get
course.
it going. So the majority of it is, all of it's been updated. I'll update that graph.
Okay.
I'll talk to Brian, I know he's away, and see
And
that
see if you
one.
can come up with a graph on the expense.
Yeah, that would be
And then-
good if we can,
And then we'll see if we want to overlay it.
yeah, I mean, we can actually keep this graph here and then add the other graph here,
Right,
and just add it in.
yeah, sure.
And then everybody can look at the verbiage. I mean, the substance of it, if you want to add something about the, I mean, there's nothing really in here that goes into detail about the long-term capital. I think that's important also,
Yeah.
Yeah,
say that-
long-term capital, yeah.
that the town is,
Yeah.
Is there going to be any report
meetings?
from the committee to the town meeting?
I'm not 100% sure, but I can talk to Sean about it. I don't know if there's going to be.
Done with these meetings, or is he?
No, he's not here today, so.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they're going to
'Cause
present.
we said last year that we would be giving people a report on this. It'd be good to do that.
Yeah, I think something should also be included in this.
I
on
agree.
that.
Yep, I agree. Because that's an important process, and we don't want to lose that with,
Yeah. While we're looking at that, where it says in the second paragraph, fortunately, the American Rescue Plan continues to help, we should eliminate that line, because we're done.
I was going to.
Yeah,
Technically, it's not done until the end of this calendar year,
okay.
but whether or not we want to leave it in, whether you want to leave it in there?
I
'Cause we're
mean,
still talking
everything that we've decided to use for Hopper's already been decided.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't, what does everybody think? I mean, I think,
Well, unless we have money to spend, it doesn't seem relevant anymore.
So we can cut it from here.
Yeah, I would.
Capital support, yeah.
well, this gets into the school conversation, and I understand, Bob, what you're saying, and I'm trying to think about all the things that have happened this year. For example, getting the school budget in September, using the school choice, the ESSER funds going away, the layoffs. We're self-insured as a town, so it doesn't necessarily save us a lot of money. We have to pay for unemployment when we lay people off, and they did lay people off this year, but that has to go into the mix too. So I understand what you're saying, though, about it being a town issue. I just think
Yeah,
there
no,
needs to be an emphasis.
I agree with you, yeah.
As there's a lot that's pushing this from that need.
Well, and I think we gotta say that next year, we kinda gotta pass on the budget this year because of school choice, but,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a big issue next year.
Yeah, as far as
And
the
I think
capital is
Chris Oliver's suggestion that they have a monthly budget meeting is a good one, and I think we should take advantage of that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
look forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as the capital is concerned, I think that, I nixed the opera piece, but I think this is important to keep in there, that they award $24.4 million in ask from the departments, but yet we could only fund
Yeah,
a certain amount, so that's important.
100%, yep, I agree, because that came out last night too, that we're just
Yeah.
not doing what we really should be doing.
Yeah, it's
but-
transparent to the town meeting resident, town meeting member that says, that, there is a big ask out there for
Yep.
short-term capital, let alone the long-term,
DPW, 10 million for roads, and we're giving them,
200,000.
yeah, yeah.
So I will, I will forward this on to the, and then I think in the next day or two, we can look at it. But as far as the warrant, we have Article 11 left, and hopefully Thursday we can,
well, we just gotta do the rationales,
Rationale, that
finalize the
article.
rationales.
So it should be fine.
Okay. So, a question. So I guess Eversource is like one of our biggest taxpayers,
top.
top, okay. Because a couple of days ago, actually it was Saturday, they show up in front of my house and they're putting up a pole. So I said to them, "What's wrong with my pole?" And they said, "Nothing." They said, "But it's not high enough for this new phase 3 type of electricity or something." And so they put another pole right next to it that is,
Double poles?
they're all double poles.
Yeah.
They're all right down the Division Road, they're all double poles. And it's probably, it's hard to gauge, but I would say they're probably about 4 feet higher than the old poles. But he said to me they had to get the wires higher, that's why they were doing that. So is that, my question is that gonna be new growth?
Well, so the infrastructure that they went from a couple of years ago to what they have now, a lot of it is underground conduit too. They have a lot of underground conduit because a lot of these new developments they don't want poles
Yeah.
up. So that would be that's, the new growth that was put on the books this year is for all the existing projects they worked
sure,
on. So
that's-
anything that new that they do would be captured for new growth for next
But if they
fiscal
put
year.
up an additional pole, that becomes new growth, right? Because-
Everything that they do when they go out and reassess is new growth.
Becomes- The old pole, when they put it in, there's a value to that and all
Yeah.
that equipment, but it depreciates.
Oh, okay.
So when you
Yeah.
put a new pole, a new circuit,
Ah.
now it's 20 years later, the value of that is much higher, and the
enhancing
depreciation
it.
starts all over again,
Yeah.
starts at a higher figure now. So yes, it is new revenue for
Yeah,
the
they're-
town.
they're
when
enhancing the,
Upgrading, replacing.
Yeah, whether it's poles, whether it's conduit lines,
Yep.
it's, they
So
capture
So
that.
they get depreciation, that's really
Yep.
what it comes down to, okay?
Yep.
All right.
So what does 4 feet higher do? I would have asked that question, because don't you
I
wonder?
was in the truck, I didn't.
Trees, and voltage. You know, they're running three-phase instead of single-phase probably.
That's what he said
Yeah.
three-phase, I know, I remember
So
that
you
one.
had single-phase
more
out there,
voltage.
the configuration's a little bit different, and
Could be-
you know,
could be the-
typically when you see, a changeover from single-phase to three-phase, they typically go higher. There's less tree trimming required, the higher you go.
And a lot of these solar arrays now that are pumping out a lot of voltage, they're in need of more beefier lines.
Upgrades.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, I mean, they left, and they got like all these wires in between that are hanging, and I was saying, oh my God. man.
I think there was something about double poles. I heard at one of the select board meetings that Sean asked anybody who has them to take pictures and send them to him.
Supposedly, from what I know, they only have a certain amount of time to keep that double pole there. They have a certain amount of time to remove it and then replace it with a single pole.
So, I'm not, because I work for the utility, the thing with double poles, there are certain areas where the pole is owned by the telephone company, and there's certain areas where the pole is owned by, because we share. So, depending on what area you're in, telephone company owns this one,
And
2
that's-
miles down the road in another town, it might be the electric company. In Dartmouth, I think most of it is owned by the electric company. So when they do an upgrade, and you see these double poles, they'll make their transfer, the old wire to the new, strip the old wire down. Then it's up to telephone and cable to do their transfer, and that's where the holdup is.
Yeah, yeah, I
It's
get you.
telephone,
Yeah, I see.
and, the electric company's got no control over that.
Yeah.
So if it was them solely, it would be gone the same day, but they can't make the
Yeah, I see
transfer.
what you're saying.
They can't touch
Yeah,
their equipment.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's always been it, because the electric company always takes the heat. It's, well, no, we got no control of what the telephone company does,
Okay. All right,
So you have minutes for the 25th that I forwarded?
yeah, okay.
You don't have them there, but I forwarded them to the group.
Okay, yep. Okay, and what was the date on that, the April?
April 25th.
April 25th, okay.
I
I
had
thought,
some
John has some comments on that. Let's make a motion, and then we'll discuss the thing. Motion, somebody want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I have to abstain.
All right, so.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Okay, Terry second. John has some issues.
No, I had a comment, just in general.
okay.
On another subject. I just wanted, before we adjourn.
Oh, okay, as far as the
Before we
minutes,
adjourn.
but I thought
No.
there was something on the minutes that you questioned.
Yeah, it's not that big
No,
a deal.
we
It's
found
just
out
the
it
way,
wasn't
the way it's written in one of the paragraphs, it sounds like there's a CPC article for 96,000, and it's not, it's the CPC article for 24,000, and then a grant application for 96,000. It's not that clear, but
Okay,
we know what we're talking about.
okay. All right, so want to make, we ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 I abstain.
Bill abstains. Okay. Okay. Liaison reports? No. I listened in on waterways, and I think there's an issue, I think, there's an issue with the Rogers thing that was brought up. I don't know if they brought it up at the select board meeting, where we have like $250,000 that's to fix the Rogers ramp there.
Boat ramp?
Yeah, the boat ramp. and-
Roger Street.
Roger Street
Yeah,
boat ramp?
Yeah. Kevin was here yesterday. I don't know if he got the chance to talk. at the select board meeting? I left, so I don't know.
I believe he did.
Okay. He didn't?
He did, yeah. He talked, Kevin did.
Okay, okay. But yeah, that's the only thing I have. Anybody else? No?
Long-term capital charter, you've heard from that.
Go ahead.
No, I just said you've heard from those committees, long-term capital. and-
So this is old business, and I'm hoping the finance company will support at least inquiring town council on this issue. So, I question the building department, their revenue and their budget, and Gary gave me that information this week. So the revenue, the cost to run the department, I think, was $618,000. Don't quote me on it, but I think it was around $600,000. The revenue that they are receiving last year was over $1.4 million. Year before was over 1.5. They made some changes in '20 on how they jacked up the rates on building permits. In '21, it was $536,000. In '20, it was $452,000. I bring this up because it's my understanding your fees, when you are charged a fee, the fee is to cover the expenses of the services you're receiving. So if the building department can run on $600,000, why are they collecting $1.5 million in revenue? All they need is $600,000 to run that department. So I've always been told, my years I spent on the planning board, we had to address this issue every few years, where we charge fees for someone coming in and applying for subdivisions and so forth. And we set those fees. We were always told by the director, we can't charge more, the fee can't exceed the cost of the service. So the department head would say, if it takes me, on average, 5-10 hours, whatever it may do, we got to look at my hourly rate and set the fee on average what we can charge the customer. Well, that's obviously not being done in the building department. So people taking out building permits and expecting that they're going to receive a service for that, they're not receiving, for what they pay, they're not receiving that service. It's exorbitant, and the fees have to be reasonable. You can't come up with an exact number when you're trying to average everybody, but they have to be reasonable. These are extremely unreasonable, and I think we're violating the laws, that we can't exceed what it costs to provide that service.
And that's a law?
I believe so, and that's my question, if we can ask town council that, because I was told that that was a law. You can't exceed, and it makes sense. And I know it's a law with police departments, because police departments can't go out and write up, 200 tickets a day because they want to bring in revenue to that's illegal. Well, it's the same thing for the town on the town side with their fees. You can't charge unreasonable fees. They cover the expenses only. And when they jacked up the building department fees, that was very unreasonable to the people who were applying for those permits. They had these huge, and they're not receiving the service. They're being overcharged.
I have one comment, there's two things. One, legal issue that you brought up, we should research that. Two, what do other towns do? Is it that the common practice to charge more, or just as a guideline, John? I'd be curious when other towns and how they handle that.
Other towns could be doing it the same way. That doesn't mean it's right. I was always told
I'm
you
not
can't
suggesting,
exceed.
I just
Yeah,
want to see what the
right.
practice is.
But I know there was a huge dump, so the building department was always charged by the square foot when you went and applied for a building permit. A new building inspector a few years back in '21 or '22, whatever it was, made a proposal, and the select board changed it, that they would charge based on the cost of the project. It would be a certain percentage of that. And I was totally opposed to that. But they also went way up on the fees. But when it was per square foot versus, I thought was a more fair way to do it versus what it cost. I'm building a house, 2,000 square foot colonial. My neighbor's building a 2,000 square foot colonial, exact same house. It's going to require the same amount of services from the town. There's typically like 7 hold points that they, they're going to come out and inspect the footings, the foundations, the rough framing, the insulation, and then the final. So, there's 6 or 7 hold points where the town's got to go out, and you're paying for that through your fee. So I'm building a house, 2,000 square feet. I go out and find a contractor, and I'm very modest. I'm putting up vinyl siding, I'm only putting a 20-year roof, I'm putting carpet and linoleum, I'm putting no tile down, I'm only putting in a $20,000 kitchen. I'm building a very modest house for that price. My neighbor, on the other hand, same square footage, same house, he's going cedar siding, cedar shakes on the roof, copper gutters, $80,000 kitchen, $10,000 bathrooms, hardwood floors, trim all of it. And I, on one hand, go out and get 3 or 4 bids, find the cheapest guy, my neighbor. I don't care, I'm just gonna go out and get a price. He gets a contractor to do the same house for $1.5 million. It happens. People don't shop around all the time. My point is, my house, I'm being charged for $750,000. He's being charged for $1.5 million, and it's the exact same square footage. It requires the same amount of effort from the building department, but he's getting charged double. That's not fair. That's not fair.
Well, can you look into that, Gary?
But,
Find out?
well, we need to ask town council if a law does exist that we can't exceed
Yeah.
the cost of
Yeah.
the service.
I'm going to make a suggestion that we not go right to town council, and that one of the issues is that there's been transition in the building department, and I was on the finance committee when the building inspector at the time came in and reviewed the rates for permits, and they were low. They weren't covering costs. The other thing I would say is that the budget for the building department doesn't cover all their costs. There are costs that they don't have an indirect costs like the
Health, retirement.
health, the
doesn't-
enterprise fund. So I would want to do some more research at our level before we go
Yeah.
right to, I think sometimes
Won't
going
make
right
up
to an
that
attorney,
difference.
it can confuse things.
The numbers are here. Back in '21, it was $536,000.
Yep.
The budget today is $600,000. We know it was less in '21, so it might have been closer to that $500,000 mark. And again, they do more down there other than building permits. So should I be paying for, when I apply for a building permit, for the building inspector to do zoning and do other things, pet projects for the select board? No, so it shouldn't be an equal, that if it costs the department $600,000, that their fees should be $600,000. It should be based on the service they're providing. If they're going out to a house 7 times to do an inspection, and on average, they can do an inspection in 15 minutes, that's what we should be charging.
Maybe we can
the,
ask
Yeah, I agree with Terry, because we don't have the authority to ask the council, we don't have the budget. So
Yeah.
why don't we ask management
Yeah,
first?
I think a couple of things. I
And
think
then,
that.
and then if we don't get,
I think a couple of things. Those numbers may be a little skewed because we did have one major project in the industrial park that kind of blew those off the charts. So that might be a little skewed. But also, they do, as far as I know, they do go to other communities and do they go into the area and check like what other communities are charging, and they kind of base. Now, there was a change where they did the square foot, now it's per project. So that might be the majority of why there's a major increase in the revenues.
So,
And that's something that we can maybe have the building inspector and
let me speak on that. So when a commercial project, large, and I don't know where the cutoff is, but when a commercial project gets over a certain size in square footage, state building code requires the developer, I forgot what the term they call it, but they have to hire
Control construction.
what is it?
Control Constructions.
Construction.
Control
They have to
Construction,
hire somebody that does all the inspections.
Right, right.
So the town, like you said, they got a $200 million facility going in, they're gonna charge their fee based on $200 million. They do nothing. They do, so you're right, we saw these huge, and the town did nothing. That person who paid that exorbitant fee got nothing from the town because they had to pay a consultant to do all that work. So, even more reason why we need to look at that, because controlled construction, it's.
I mean, maybe
it's
we
a
also
total
have,
ripoff
we have
for
a new
those
building
people.
inspector too. Maybe we have a new building inspector too. Maybe he can shed some light on what his idea is about the revenues in the town, in the department, and what he sees going forward.
But I think we gotta get Sean in the loop.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, it comes at a time where we need the revenue. You know, I hate to shoot, but.
It is all general
this
fund
is-
revenue.
This is shocking when I saw what the numbers were that are coming in and what it costs to run that department and what people are paying for a service they don't receive. It's awful. It's not right, we.
I'm curious why they made that change, you know what I mean, from square footage to, other than the
Oh, yes, it
obvious.
was, and I remember when it happened, and sure enough, the following year, he was in here asking for more positions. Look what the revenue I brought in, I need more position. Oh, yeah, this is great, you're paying for these positions. Well, we're charging the end user an unfair rate, in my opinion, and I don't claim to be a lawyer, but I believe it's illegal, based on what I was told when we were setting fees with the planning board.
So, let's start, I'll touch base with Sean. Maybe we can
Okay,
speak to the
and the
building
building inspector.
commissioner, yeah.
Okay,
Very good.
all right. Someone wanna make a motion to adjourn?
I will.
Bill made a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear none. Adjourn. Thank you.